CM Punk has been posting on social media after some AEW stars said they'd like to see him return to the company, whilst others have claimed they would not like to see the former AEW World Champion back. We've got all of the posts, all of the reactions, and all of the comments about the former two-time AEW World Champion. Vicky Guerrero set to leave AEW upon the expiration of her contract later on this year. Former ring announcer Tony Chimmel was spotted at the Ring of Honor tapings this past weekend. Speaking of Ring of Honor, Gran Metalik also appeared at the tapings. Tony Khan works as a producer for a match on AEW Dynamite last week. AEW offers an independent pro wrestling star a contract. AEW Dark receives an updated set ahead of tonight's YouTube show. Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho is official for AEW Revolution. However, there is a slight tweak and change of the match ahead of this weekend's pay-per-view, and Tony Schiavone explains the differences between AEW Rampage and WCW Thunder. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling, and that guy again, CM Punk, continues to polarize opinions, not just in terms of the AEW fan base, but also on the AEW roster as well. Now, CM Punk, he's always quite active on his Instagram stories, but it's kind of been raised a level recently, especially as we get closer to CM Punk possibly returning to the ring for AEW. I don't know. For WWE, I don't know. For New Japan Pro Wrestling, I don't know. But certainly CM Punk is stirring the pot when it comes to social media and stoking the flames of a possible AEW return. The future of CM Punk in AEW has been a talking point ever since the now infamous AEW All Out media scrum. In the months since All Out, numerous reports about his status in the company, with some top guys in the company claiming they would make sure he didn't return or wouldn't be able to return to an active role in All Elite Wrestling. Now, Punk took to Instagram earlier this week, seemingly poking fun at the reports of him being branded cancerous in the AEW locker room. Punk shared a comic of Danhausen stealing some lemonade from a lemonade stand with a tongue-in-cheek caption that read, quote, "Danhausen is cancerous to America and really didn't pay for lemonade. He is blackballed, WON." Of course, referring to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. We can get that up on the screen right there. You can see it. It's a tongue-in-cheek, basically saying don't believe everything you read in the Observer. It's essentially what Punk is saying now. Now, Punk is still out of action with a torn tricep that he suffered during his AEW World Championship match against Jon Moxley at All Out. Several other AEW stars have spoken out in favor of CM Punk in the most recent incident, as well as some also speaking negatively about him as well. Now, it didn't just stop there, though, when it came to the cryptic Instagram stories, because the next one came out, and it was, again, quite interesting to say the least. Now, if you can't really see it that well, what it is CM Punk with a go-to-sleep gif underneath a no-context Jim Cornette account with, I guess, saying Jim Cornette managing The Thing and the Hulk, and he's also tagged FTR above them. Again, I guess kind of fueling the rumors of CM Punk teaming up with FTR, maybe to take on the Elite if CM Punk were to return to the company. FTR possibly coming back, I don't know, but certainly again getting a lot of people talking, especially when it comes to all things Jim Cornette as well. Jim Cornette, when it comes to AEW, doesn't tend to say particularly nice things, does he? But what's kind of happened in the last 24 hours has really got people talking. So AEW coach Mark Henry, he shared his honest thoughts on the situation surrounding CM Punk, explaining what he'd do if he was in charge. Now, of course, as I mentioned, Punk hasn't appeared on AEW television since his verbal tirade at the post-All-Out media scrum in September 2022. Punk and several other stars were suspended following their alleged involvement in a backstage altercation after Punk's scrum appearance, with the controversial star notably stripped of the AEW World Championship. Now, it must be said also, he also tore his triceps in the main event of All Out against Jon Moxley. So even if his suspension was lifted, he was still going to be out of action for 9 months regardless. He's still rehabbing that injury right now. But as time moves on and we get closer to a possible date for Punk returning to the ring, his status really is becoming the forefront of people's thoughts and talking points. Now, on Busted Open Radio, Mark Henry explained why, if he ran AEW, he'd push for a CM Punk return, noting, quote, "If I was in charge, I would bring him back. I would bring him back with him saying to the wrestling world, not an apology, but just state the facts. Grown men will disagree and things will be said that probably shouldn't have been said, and I regret airing my dirty laundry in front of the world. It won't happen again. Do we agree on everything? No. Can we work together and exist and have a business relationship? Yes. I will not let my personal feelings, my personal gripes and concerns interfere with the business again, because ultimately the important thing is business, and I am the business and business is good. AEW is better with me around. Now that is Mark Henry's opinion on the matter, but it's certainly not an opinion that's shared by everyone in AEW. One person I guess it's not shared by is Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Now this quote was actually then posted on social media by Wrestle Purists, and an AEW star has liked a tweet claiming that CM Punk, quote, assaulted people in response to comments about Punk from another name in the company. Now as I mentioned, those quotes from Mark Henry, who's still an interviewer on AEW Rampage, he said that if he was in charge of AEW, he'd bring CM Punk back. Furthermore, Henry said he wouldn't bring Punk back with an apology, but rather an admittance that grown men would just disagree on things. As has been well publicized at this point, Punk had disagreements with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, which resulted in Punk's verbal tirade during the post-All-Out Media Scrum last year, followed by this fight backstage with the Elite and Punk and Ace Steel all being involved. Now, some AEW stars, as I mentioned, have come out as pro-Punk, whilst others have come out as anti-Punk in the whole situation. Jungle Boy Jack Perry liked one of the replies to Henry's quote on Twitter, which said, quote, bro, referring to Punk, assaulted people, not the same as a disagreement. Of course, it's still unclear what exactly happened during the alleged backstage fight, and it's been made clear that no one involved has been able to talk about it. Ace Steel, who was said to be on Punk's side, was fired from AEW after the incident, while Punk, the Bucks, and Omega were suspended. The Bucks and Omega returned after a couple of months, while Punk has remained out of action due to the injury that I mentioned that he sustained during his match at All Out. A few months back, Colton Gunn tweeted about Perry when Perry referenced the fact he was on the upcoming pay-per-view and the Gunns weren't. Gunn wrote, quote, I guess if we changed with the Bucks and stayed up until 6 a.m. with the boss, we could get a spot too. Dax Howard of FTR previously made comments on his podcast claiming Perry wasn't happy about FTR joining AEW because he thought they were going to try and change his style. Punk, as I mentioned, has started sort of emerging on social media, but again, we definitely know where Jungle Boy Jack Perry, where he lands on the argument, and I guess not surprisingly, it's with his fellow California natives being the Young Bucks. Nothing right or wrong about that, but certainly interested that Jungle Boy publicly kind of has showed his stance on the situation. But when it came to these comments by Mark Henry, which again certainly did stir up quite a lot of controversy on social media, even Punk himself has actively responded to them on Instagram as well. He's given an interesting response to a fan on Instagram following the recent comments made by Mark Henry, and it's quite interesting nevertheless. Now, again, another one of these accounts which kind of grabs quotes and puts them out on social media, an aggregator, if you will, posted this on Instagram, and Punk responded to a fan comment on the platform who wrote, quote, keep CM Punk retired. Now, Punk, as you can see on the screen, replied to the comment, you liked your own comment, bold. I'll wrestle again just to upset you. You'll watch no matter where. Now, as I mentioned, Punk's future is currently unknown as to where he's going to land next, but certainly interesting. He's saying, I'm going to wrestle at some point and you'll watch. And to be honest, is he wrong? Probably not. Now, Kenny Omega, he's also commented on the situation, kind of, I guess as much as he can. AEW Executive Vice President and former World Champion Kenny Omega has commented on the backstage incident with CM Punk at All Out. As has been publicized widely at this point, Punk had disagreements with the Young Bucks, Omega, and Hangman Adam Page, which resulted in the entire Brawl Out situation. Omega was the guest on the latest edition of Renee Paquette's podcast, The Sessions, during which he touched on the incident, even though everyone is legally restrained when it comes to how much they can actually say about it. Omega explained how the severity of the situation was more than just a spat with a teammate, saying, quote, there are things, especially now when you're in a multi-million, billion-dollar industry, where there are sponsorships on the line, TV deals on the line. It's not like high school football. It's not, a little tiff that you might have with someone on your fellow amateur wrestling team or whatever, or maybe someone held a submission too long in jiu-jitsu training. It's not that. These things shouldn't even be happening. It's a shame that the general public and a lot of people aren't ever going to know what went down and how it could have been prevented or how it could have, ended differently. That's just sort of how things go again when it's big business operation. I don't think anyone is happy that it happened or is proud that it happened or anything like that. I think across the board, everyone thinks that it was a terrible situation and that was unnecessary. It's sort of like, hey, we know this thing happened. We heard this thing happened. It's all over the dirt sheets. Why don't we know what happened? It's like we're kind of sworn to secrecy. We can't say anything legally. So that was the poopy part where I was like, well, why doesn't anyone tell us what is happening? And then you're forced to form your own opinion or to come up with some of your own theory as to what exactly happened. As I mentioned, as of right now, it's currently unclear whether Tony Khan will bring Punk back to AEW or if he's considering it. There were previous reports that the parties were in talks over a potential buyout of CM Punk's contract, with things reportedly getting caught up on negotiations of a non-compete clause, which would imply a move to WWE is at least possible on Punk's behalf, but things have gone quiet on that front. When it comes to Kenny Omega, his future is, I guess, just as uncertain. Omega's own contract was set to expire at the beginning of February, end of January, but AEW extended it for time that he spent out injured, which takes him a lot closer to the end of the year. And he reportedly is open-minded to a move to WWE, as we spoke about in today's WWE news video. Now, speaking of possible departures, this one is near enough confirmed. An AEW performer is finishing up with the company. Grapsody and Fightful's Righteous Reg learned that AEW All Elite Wrestling manager Vicky Guerrero is set to finish up with the company, which was confirmed via other Fightful sources. She's been with AEW since December 2019 and started as Nyla Rose's manager in July 2020. Along the way, she would also help manage Andrade El Idolo and Marina Shafir. Fightful Sean Ross Sapp later learned that Vicky Guerrero and All Elite Wrestling specifically have agreed not to renew her AEW contract, which expires in July 2023. Guerrero has worked heavily on AEW Heels and helped contribute to a number of AEW digital projects. She recorded an episode of AEW Unrestricted as recently as last week. Vicky noted recently on Twitter that a new journey is beginning with new opportunities for her. Obviously, at the moment, we're unsure if that's related to her AEW departure, but indeed, it looks like Guerrero is indeed leaving AEW once her contract expires later this year. Now, a few spoilers ahead for the upcoming Ring of Honor show. Of course, it debuts Thursday night on Honor Club on Ring of Honor's streaming platform services. There are going to be a few spoilers here, so I'll give you a few seconds to dart away from this video or skip ahead if you wish. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's move on and talk about Tony Chimel working the Ring of Honor television tapings, not as a ring announcer, more of an MC. Now, this weekend saw Ring of Honor tape their first shows under the ownership of AEW President Tony Khan in Orlando, Florida, with the first episode of the program set to premiere this coming Thursday, March 2nd. As previously reported, a bunch of noteworthy moments went down on night one of the television tapings, including teasers for the Supercard of Honor main event. Night 2 started with another interesting note, as former WWE ring announcer Tony Chimel appeared as the MC for the night's event. Chimel spent 38 years with WWE before being released from his contract in 2020. Chimel will not be ring announcing for Ring of Honor during the television tapings though. Longtime ROH ring announcer Bobby Cruz is still on duty for the new program. Again, it remains to be seen if this was just a one-night thing, if this is going to be a Chimel role going forward. Of course, when he was with WWE and released in 2020, he wasn't doing ring announcing anymore. He was more doing sort of ring setup and logistical side of things. I don't know if he's going to be doing that for AEW. Recently, he's done interviews saying that he was working at Trader Joe's and really enjoying it. So I don't know if this is going to be a thing for him going forward. We'll have to wait and see if we get more information on that. Gran Metalik is going to be seemingly in Ring of Honor moving forward. As previously mentioned, ROH held their first TV tapings under Tony Khan's ownership this past weekend. During the tapings, Mascara Dorada made his presence known under a familiar name. During the tapings, Dorada came out as Gran Metalik, which of course was the name he used during his time in WWE as a member of the Lucha House Party and the Cruiserweight division. In Wrestling Observer's Daily Update, Dave Meltzer reports that Metalik has gotten the rights to use his WWE name and will be known as that moving forward. Gran Metalik signed with WWE in 2016 and spent 5 years with the company before being released in November 2021. The former Lucha House Party member has made several appearances for AEW and Ring of Honor, including a match against Jeff Cobb on the Final Battle 2022 pre-show. If we get any more updates as to Gran Metalik's future, if he signed a contract or anything like that, we'll let you know. But he has now the rights to use that name going forward. This is a really interesting story because Tony Khan, of course, is a guy that wears many hats in AEW. He's the owner, he's the booker, he's the occasional maker of important announcements, and he's the head of creative, CEO, continue. But now add the role of producer to that list. Notes for the February 22nd episode of AEW Dynamite have revealed Tony Khan's involvement in the show beyond just making the important announcement that Adam Cole was going to be announcing something. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Tony Khan and Pat Buck were listed as producers of the Revolution Tag Team Battle Royale. The match saw Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal come out victorious, joining the upcoming The Guns and The Acclaimed at AEW Revolution in a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match. The fourth team will be decided in a Casino Battle Royale on the March 1st episode of AEW Dynamite tomorrow on TBS. Elsewhere on the February 22nd episode of Dynamite, Fightful Select revealed that Dustin Rhodes produced Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta. Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho segment was produced by QT Marshall. Big Bill and Lee Moriarty versus The Acclaimed was produced by Jerry Lynn. BJ Whitmer produced Saraya versus Sky Blue. The Jon Moxley versus Evil Uno match was produced by Dean Malenko. Pat Buck also produced the Bryan Danielson and MJF promo segment, in which the AEW World Champion revealed a real-life relationship split with reported embellishments for the sake of the promo. The Jungle Boy and Christian segment was listed as a possible live segment and didn't have a producer attached. We did see also last week that AEW Dynamite reached over 1 million viewers for the first time in a while, so I guess the producers and everyone involved did a good job. An interesting one because AEW has reportedly offered an independent star a contract with the company. Obviously from several talents, and this is just a pro wrestling thing, have started and made their names on the independent scene. But Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, All Elite Wrestling has offered a contract to independent prospect Ashley D'Amboise. D'Amboise has been on AEW's radar for quite some time now, having debuted for the promotion during the Daily's Place era 2 years ago. She has worked 20 plus dates for the company, including teaming with Sky Blue in a match on the July 22nd, 2022 edition of Rampage against Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Since December, Ashley D'Amboise has appeared on other promotions' television shows, such as several episodes of NWA TV, and faced Deonna Purrazzo on Impact Wrestling. The report notes that several in the industry have pointed out D'Amboise as a star to look out for. She has been touted as a quick learner and took to pro wrestling well. Sources within AEW Fightful spoke to didn't confirm if the deal was full-time or tiered, but they believe D'Amboise will be signed within the next couple of weeks. If we get any more updates on that, of course, we'll let you know here on the channel. A bit of an update when it comes to a new look for the AEW Dark set. Of course, we saw recently that Ring of Honor was shooting television out of the Universal Studios soundstage, and it would appear that Dark also is getting a bit of an upgrade when it comes to this set. The first tapings for Tony Khan's Ring of Honor TV show took place over the weekend at Universal Studios in Orlando. Now, the second night of tapings took place on Monday alongside the latest set of AEW Dark tapings from the usual home of AEW Dark. With Dark now being taped alongside Ring of Honor, the Dark Zone in Universal Studios has undergone a makeover. You can see the image on the screen right there, and certainly I guess it was an improvement. We have heard that more seats have been added in, more fans are able to attend, and this is more in keeping, I suppose, with the set that we've seen debut on recent episodes of AEW Dynamite and Rampage. A bit of a change has been made to Chris Jericho's match against Absolute Ricky Starks at AEW Revolution, and a change has seemingly been made for this match that is set for the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. On last week's AEW Dynamite, Ricky Starks cut a promo challenging Chris Jericho to one more match at Revolution, which Jericho denied. Jericho told Ricky that he didn't have a pen to sign the contract before Starks pulled out a pen of his own to give to Jericho. After signing the contract and making the match official, it was announced that the stipulation in the contract was everyone was banned from ringside for the match. AEW uploaded a graphic for the match with the stipulation listed at the top, but the next time the graphic for the match was posted, something was different. Now, instead of saying that everyone would be banned from ringside, it simply states that the Jericho Appreciation Society are banned from ringside as well. This has led to a lot of speculation about why the change was made, with fans speculating that either Action Andretti or Paul White will make the save for Jericho in the match. Of course, recently Chris Jericho did file to trademark the term Jeri-Show. We do know that Paul White's on the road to recovery and has said he wants to be back in the ring around the time of March. So could Paul White and Chris Jericho be reuniting, this time on AEW television? I'll have to wait and see. Finally, Tony Schiavone has explained the differences between AEW Rampage and WCW Thunder. To Tony Schiavone, two big reasons that AEW Rampage is different from WCW Thunder. Both programs may share similarities in that they are their respective promotion's secondary show, and, Thunder airs on TBS, of course, Rampage airs on TNT. But the experienced voice of both companies says what gives Rampage a bit more heart than the WCW counterpart. Thunder, we didn't want to do. Rampage, we wanted to do. Schiavone flat out told Conrad Thompson on the latest episode of What Happened When. The addition of Thunder created added stress for WCW talent and production staff as it became another date to tape onto the calendar. The second reason coincides with the first reason, even if you look at it strictly from a promotional perspective. Rampage is important for us because we have such a big roster and not everybody gets TV time. Back then, we didn't need it. We had a 3-hour show, he said, referring to WCW Monday Nitro, making it evident they didn't need another 2-hour show. It's just too much, Schiavone said. Right now, we're doing 3 hours of TV, 2 of it live, although Rampage certainly creates an added platform for talent to showcase themselves on network television. The program has very much suffered in the ratings in recent weeks. Rampage initially presented plenty of promise with the platform being the platform for the pro wrestling return of CM Punk in August of 2021. But even as recent as February 17, the show has seen its lowest in its short history of the program. So still lots of things to work out and figure out when it comes to AEW Rampage. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.